Hi everyone and welcome to Deck the Halls DIY Studio. In this video, we are going to give you a tutorial on how to paint your custom name puzzles. These are the neatest project kit. We can do any name, so you have one of those special names that is spelled differently and so unique, which is awesome. Now you can make your own name puzzle. So what you'll want to do is make sure you have your name puzzle with your letters, and then you want your paint that was supplied, and then we included sponges, some white sponges, and probably, all white sponges. So you can grab your sponges, your paint, and you'll be ready to go. So a few important things about the puzzle. When you paint, you're going to want to paint the top surface only. You're not going to want to paint on the edge because, as you can see, the puzzle pieces fit right in. And if you paint on the edge, it will make those fits really tight. So you'll want to make sure you do that. First is to paint, or to remember, to paint only on the tops of the puzzle pieces. And you can kind of see how when we cut these, there's a burnt edge, so that's called the laser. So make sure that that side is up just when you get ready to paint. Another thing is you do not want to paint on the inside, and the inside doesn't show. So you can try to not paint or get paint in there at all, or you can wipe it off if you do get paint in there, and we'll kind of look at how I paint when we get started here. So again, thanks for joining us, Deck the Halls DIY Studio, and we will get started. So I'm going to paint my background blue. Let's see here. I'm going to paint my background blue, and my letters are going to be a couple other different colors. So I'm going to take my blue. You have a container for yours. I'm just going to put mine on the side here. You don't need to dump yours out, but we are going to talk about using less is more paint-wise. So when you get your white sponge here, you're gonna put paint on it, so load your sponge and then unload your sponge, so dab it off. And then when you paint, you can paint like you would normally paint, just run the paint sponge across your board, and you can paint like that. You don't have to dab. You certainly can if you want, but this is really nice, smooth surface here to paint, so you can just glide along with your paint. And you'll notice that I'm trying to stay off of the edge, okay? When I paint, I have baby wipes nearby because baby wipes help with everything. They clean things up really easily. So you're just gonna go through and you're going to paint the top. Remember, you're not going to try to get any paint inside the letters where the puzzle piece will go, okay? So you'll just kind of work your way around. Now this part, I did allow my kids that are 3 and 5 to paint their puzzle, and they got a little bit of paint on the inside like I did right here on the L, and that's okay. I just would recommend not filling the insides with paint. So if you have a little painter working with you, a little DIYer, don't give them a lot of paint. Give them very little paint to be able to help you create their puzzle piece with. And we also talk about dabbing and when we come out to the studio to paint a lot. So maybe just telling your little DIYer that they can just dab, and that would be good too. So you'll see if I dab on the edge of my sponge that I have better control over where that paint is going. So you'll continue to paint the entire background of your puzzle, and then we will come back once we're done painting this, and we will talk about how to paint our letters. Okay, so continue painting. Okay, so I have completed painting my background. If you want to do more than one coat of paint, you certainly can. You can see that I did get inside a little bit, but not much. It was just a brush. So I'm not worried about that. If you're worried about that, like I said before, you can take your baby wipe and wipe it out, but you should be good to go. So you're gonna set this name part aside, and then you will get ready to paint your letters. So while that's drying, we're gonna paint our letters. I have the colors green, yellow, and orange for the letters here. So I'm gonna do them in a pattern. So I'll just put a little bit of my paint out. Again, you have a paint cup, so you don't have to dump them out if you don't want to. You certainly can if you do have a space for that. And then you can start thinking about your pattern that you want to create with your colors. Okay, and so you're gonna just use your white sponges, and I think this will be our pattern. We'll go with it, I think. So you're gonna load your sponge like we did before, and now to paint, let's see here, push these up a little bit just to make sure you can see. And now to paint the R, you're just going to dab over the top. I'm just holding my R very carefully, and I'm just gonna dab. Now, I'm not using a lot of paint because I wanna keep it on top. I don't wanna get on the edges, and if you get on the edges, either wipe it with a baby wipe or wipe it with your finger. Now I chose yellow, and yellow is most likely going to need a couple coats of paint. Okay, so there's my yellow, green, orange, yellow. So I just like to stay with the colors that I'm painting with at that time, but feel free to switch it up. This is for my son. So I'm not gonna add any polka dots or anything to the letters, but you certainly could take a pencil tip, and you could add little polka dots if you wanted. You could take a paint marker, and you could add stripes if you wanted. That would be really fun if you wanted to do something different to the letters. You can do all sorts of things. Right, today I'm just gonna show you painting. And just make sure you're dabbing and kind of holding your letter down in place. So it's a very easy little project. I'm loading and unloading kind of in the same spot over there on my paper. But I'm just dabbing my letters, and just ensuring that I'm giving them covered fairly well, but not too thick. You want to think of the consistency of tissue paper. Okay, and once they're all painted, let them dry a little bit, and then you can come back and do a second coat of paint if you want. And then when the whole project is dry, we're going to talk about the clear coat that we provided you to clear coat these puzzles, because they're puzzles, so I'm imagining that they will get played with and used. So we want to throw a little bit of a clear coat on them. So after you paint your letters, you want to double check your puzzle tray. You can double check that to see if it needs another coat of paint. And then when everything is dry, we will go on to painting our clear coat, applying the clear coat. Okay, once your paint is dry, you will have a container of clear coat. So this is satin varnish that we're going to apply. It's durable, non-yellowing, which is why we like it. You can apply it with your orange brush, and it's water-based. So when you're done, you can use soap and water to clean up your hands. You have a container of it again. I'm just gonna put a little bit on my paper over here. Make sure your puzzle is good and dry. If it's not, you'll want to wait a little bit longer, and then you'll just kind of brush it on. And I try to remember which direction you're going and where you've been. And again, we're not getting inside the letter cutouts. Okay, you want to stay outside of it. And you're just going to go over the entire puzzle to seal it. You're going to do the same idea with your puzzle pieces. And I'm hardly even pushing. I'm going very light with the pressure, because if I do push, I will push the clear coat into the letter spots, and then you will have a really tight fitting puzzle piece. I just kind of got it in there a little bit, and I use the other side of my sponge to kind of scoop it out. Some of the letters will be easier to get in between than others, but you will just want to make sure you clear coat this, since it will be played with and used. Even if it's not being played with as much as a normal puzzle, you still will probably like to clear coat it just to seal it for it to last a long time. So there's that piece that you'll want to set aside to dry. And then you can take and cut, because I do have some coloration on my sponge, I will just cut the end off. And then I will just start with my yellow, and I will just go over, and I will continue with all of my yellow pieces, and then I will decide if I need to trim off my sponge again, and then continue with the next color. Okay, so you can just put clear coat on. Now make sure you don't get it on the sides, because again, that will give you a really snug fit. And I did get a little bit there, so I'll wipe it off. A really snug fit to your puzzle pieces. Now, because I was using yellow, it doesn't appear that I have much on there, so I'm gonna try my green. And you're just doing the tops where you have paint to get that nice clear coat on each puzzle piece. Now I do have green on here, so I will trim this off, trim off my sponge, and I will start my orange letters to give them a nice clear coat so that they are nice and protected. I do need a little bit more. You guys will have plenty in your containers. Okay, and then I would recommend letting this dry for a good, depending on how much you put on, a good 10 minutes before you put it in your puzzle. This is fairly dry right now, but I want to make sure that all the pieces are dry before I put my puzzle together. And then you might want to wait maybe overnight to let your kids play with them, but you will be ready to go. So let's give them a dry before we assemble our puzzles. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We have our puzzle. How cute are these? They are fantastic. So thanks for joining Deck the Halls DIY Studio today. Make sure you log on to Facebook and like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and share your photos with us of your puzzle. We can't wait to see what you created. Puzzles can be created for any name, so be sure to reach out and let us know what we can help you create, and we love to bring your vision to life. So thanks for joining Deck the Halls DIY Studio today. We'll see you soon.